Alright. I can do this one more time. This is the thing that saves me from the thoughts after all. Alright everybody, welcome back to Shindo Life. This is a continuation of the previous video that I made on my favorite game, Shindo Life, or with its other name, Shinobi Life 2. As the opening, with the dog shit quality, suggested, today we're going to be taking a look on things that I haven't mentioned in that video. Some modes, tail beasts, specific abilities and summons. I will be going into details on a lot of things, so buckle up. I would also like to note that I will be attempting to make more videos on specific things, as one day I wish to talk about specific bloodlines, elements, even characters of Shindo Life in great detail later. I feel like with my first video I've only managed to excavate what amounts to only the snow on the top of the iceberg. I also wanted to take a second in this video to say that I am aware of the problems of Shindo Life. Back in the day I had made a list with over 1,000 suggestions to add 1,000 different things into this game. Which is why today I will be doing a two-part video and talking about a different game that also has gotten my attention as it is in the Naruto department and in Roblox called Bloodlines. A Naruto game that I think was misled by problems that honestly could be fixed so easily. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start with the bread and butter of this video. I want to start with this video with Tail Beast because one of the most mind-blowing things in this game for newer players is always these giant beasts harboring a lot of power. Well, at least back in the day it did, but I mean now it does as well, but it's for different reasons. I'll explain. Tail Beasts come in three different groups: Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3. Gen 1 and 2 are practically identical in the way they function, with their only unsimilarity is the fact that Gen 1 Tail Beasts are practically only designed for the rip and their aesthetics, while Gen 2 Beasts have
surprise tool that can help us later.
Let's run through all of their abilities. The amount of modes that you have depends on the amount of tails a Tail Beast have. The higher the amount of tails, the higher the amount of modes a Tail Beast will have. The first few of these modes, usually referred to by the community as checker modes of Tail Beasts, usually have the same abilities. Your Z-Spec will be an ability that changes from the Tail Beast to Tail Beast, with it usually carrying an elemental power on the quirk of the Tail Beast in a short fireball-like ability. Your Q, your weapon spec, will be a roar that deals some damage to enemies that are caught within its radius. I nearly said always, but you will keep these abilities until you hit the Berserk stage of your transformation. If the Tail Beast you have isn't 9 tails, you will have 1, and if it is 9 tails, you will have 2 different Berserk modes. In this mode, your Z-Spec will be changed into a Tail Beast Spirit Bomb, and your Q-Spec will stay the same, except for the 9 tails Berserk, which will add a laser into the roar for the current and next few stages of its evolution. Next transformation after this is mode 99, aka the first Striker Cloak. In this transformation, your Q-Spec is the same as the previous, but you will get an empowered Tail Beast Bomb as your Z-Spec. This is also where your Tail Beast formation will become more human. You will stop running on 4 legs and give you a huge stat as well as speed boost all across the board. Next transformation is the full Tail Beast Cloak with the tails. Q-Spec the same, but your Z-Spec will change into summoning of your Tail Beast without having it fully tamed, making it so that the beast runs with you only being able to control its direction. Better stress overall, nothing too crazy other than the first instance of summoning your beast and the drip. And the last transformation, at least for Gen 1, is the 6-pass stage mode. In this form, your weapon will be replaced with chakra shards. Your Q-Spec will turn into shooting the true scorps to your enemy, and you will have completely tamed beast. One thing I've neglected to mention is that if you click M1 while having your beast out, at the exchange of some mode you can throw out empowered tail beast bombs. Additionally to all this, Sage mode will give you access to infinite flight. There are some modes in this game that do allow you to fly, however this one and many others will grant you the ability to fly without needing to use the stamina for it. Oh yeah, if you get into this transformation, you'll have to recoup your weapon if you want to use it in that transformation too, which is a downside this mode has in general. And now,
The prize tool.
if you're using a Gen 2 tail beast and you have 2000 levels on it, yes, grinding in this game is worse than getting your dick stuck in a red ant hive. You can type !Tentacion in order to go into your Byron mode. In this formation, you'll have access to teleporting as well as chi, and I'm pretty sure mode stealing them once, to empower Tail Beast Bomb Slam, the ability to freely summon your beast, and some of the highest mode stats in this entire game. You can go out of your mode once you use it, and you have to wait for it to drain, but fun fact, this mode used to take away the Tail Beast scroll you had upon usage. It was so broken at some point, you wouldn't have seen a ganks without some dude going crazy and popping it just to win. I want to say this mode is underrated if it wasn't for the next things. Gen 3 Tail Beasts. Currently some of the best modes you can acquire in this game, if you have time for it. All Gen 3 Tail Beasts come with 4 different formations. The base formation where you send slashes, the second where you start to be able to use the capabilities of your beast more, the third that's perfect to your climax, and the climax that allows you to become your tail beast at a whim. I'm not gonna get into these guys a lot because all of them have different abilities of their own and all of them sort of specialize in different means. However, I will mention that all of them came with weapons, bloodlines, and even the ones that came with their own element. One of the biggest criticisms that I have for this game actually applies to these as well. The chance to drop the tail beast from its respective boss is around 2%. And if it does drop, it's 10 million Rio, the game currency, to unlock and then bother some grind. I mentioned it in my previous video, however I cannot stress enough how anti-new player Shin Life is or always has been. There's so many ranks in this game that you have to max out, each one to get to next, just to max out your character is insane. For a frame of reference, I made an alt around a year ago and it took me around 2 weeks to get somewhere where I could say, I don't need to grind anymore. I know this will never change and instead just stay as a point in the 1000 X I wish the life had that it never will. But it still is and will always be, partially because I'm already freed from the grind, my favorite game. You may have realized that I haven't mentioned 10 tails, only went to 1 to 9 tails. That's because in all 3 instances 10 tails works in a different way than the other modes. 10 tails in Gen 1 and Gen 2 are similar, with them having a better block, attacking abilities, and a summon. The only difference is one is grounded, the other can fly. However, Gen 3 version is an entire bloodline of its own that has a mode in the sea instead of Z called Izra. Yes, it being on sea means you can stack 2 Gen 3s on top of each other. It has 2 modes instead of the usual Gen 3, but I'm fairly certain it's to fit the Teen Tail mode count, the 1 and the 2 modes, you know, no deal. With that huge part of the way, let's get into summoning and clones as well as illusionary arts, which is where I think this game could have done a lot better. You can access the summons, illusionary, as well as the clone jutsus in the subjutsu section. If you scroll down a little from the tail beast, these jutsus aren't amazing. I would hardly even call them good if they didn't effectively shut down grappler players and force them into using AoE abilities more often. As normal clone jutsus, or at least the summon clones, as a result of using them, can actually be hit and grabbed, causing the grab to effectively go through, but hit the wrong person. Of course, they have added multiple versions of clones, with all of them failing to some degree, most because they lack damage or are rare to able to use the jutsus we had, and mostly because it would be so incredibly fucking broken if they could just spam them. I'll now get into detail on specific clone jutsus for your consideration. Vanishing clone jutsu just summons one clone. This one is definitely the worst jutsu in the entire game, and the fact that it occupies a slot is genuinely enough to piss me off. Vanishing Clone Barrage. This is one of the jutsus that are rarely used in competitive play. Not because it's amazing, but it's because it's basically an auto-tracking high damage projectile on a mediocre cooldown. I would say you can actually do a set with this if you combine it with Dagai, the advanced commands for feature. If not for the 3 hand signs, definitely a good move though. Multi-Vanishing Clone. The actual good version of the Vanishing Clone jutsu. It summons 6 NPCs, make your grappler opponent want to skydive without a parachute. Also no hand sign requirements, and piss cheap cost makes it actually good if you know what your opponent's gameplay style is.
My life be like, yeah. My life be like.
Exploding clones. Clones that run up to your opponent, usually fail on the road, and explode dealing damage. I don't really like these because the next one exists. Clone Spirit Bomb. Better version of exploding ones. They'll run up to your opponent, deliver a Sengun, both displacing them and hurting them a bunch. Water, wood, snow clones. These I'm gonna group up because one does Shizen wood, one does water, prison, and the other does freeze stunning your opponent. Utility attacking clones. Vanishing Image. This clone is actually interesting. Upon using Vanishing Image, it will summon a clone that won't attack opponents until used again. Upon using it again, you and the clone swap places. Bear in mind, this clone sends around more than most other clone jutsus in the game. Norma can crush your Vanishing Clones. Again grouping them, but it's because these clones all act like your companion. Clones mentioned above can rarely use your jutsu's weapons ability, etc. These ones will do it more often, from my testing. We don't know if they won't give you attacking credit when companions do though. Anyways, more on those later. However, for actual summoning jutsus, that for an example is used in the summoning of toads or snakes for an example. They only stick around for a few moments, do an attack or two if you're lucky. They may be able to cover you with their big hitbox and unlimited health and rarely interrupt the hand signs of your opponent. The bad part is these monsters don't have health bars, meaning the offender can't effectively get rid of them. And for the defender, they only last for like 10 seconds and then put everything with summoning on global cooldown for like 40 seconds. If they lasted longer, they would be much better in need of doing practically anything, but as of right now, they're basically worse versions of iframe moves. To recap, Heavily Involved. This is one of the summons that I believe would be just as fine as a subjutsu. When you summon 3 walls that stick around for 8 seconds, they are practically just walls that are impossible to break through. Extremely useful when running away or in areas that are more claustrophobic. I know these places are rare, but you can use these in a gate of dunes area for an example to run away. Again, not the best choice for an ability slot, but it at least doesn't have any global cooldown that I'm aware of. Eagle Companion, one of the most companions in the game. It basically acts like a bad flight mode that drains stamina. You can get to scroll with around 1 in 5 chance in Nimbus Village. Huh? What is it? You don't understand those terms? Basically, the scroll has 1 in 5 chance to spawn in a specific village in a specific time, and you have to be the first one to get it. At least you get to teleportate when the time comes. Again, a problem that I have with this game, but at least they lower the chances drastically. Anyways, the Eagle is good for starters who don't want to rush through the game, I guess. Reaper Spirit and the Reskins. These are all really good and would be amazing if they didn't have auto dodge counter global cooldown. These will summon a protruding arm and pull an opponent who's caught in it, deal damage and steal mochi and etc. A main stable in dungeons and surprisingly really good. Toad, Snake, Gizmodo, Gingerbread Man. Summon these I'm gonna group up together because they seem to be achieving the same purpose. Basically, a summoning of a big hitbox monster onto the area for around 5 seconds that you can hide inside of. Surprisingly, Gizo seems to be the worst one because it has the smallest hitbox and it refuses to attack in all of my tests. While Gingerbread Man seems to be the best because it has highly damaging move it loves to throw out as it gets summoned. Honestly, if you don't have anything in the summoning cooldown like Portal Beast and you aren't trying to use a summoning clone move, these aren't so horrible. Situational terrible, and the opportunity cost is definitely taking away from them a lot. But it's not nothing. Tin Tail Summon. basically the same as the summons mentioned just before this, but this is very openly the best one. Double time at last, double the hitbox to play defensively, and a summon attack that would be both incredibly devastating and stunning for a good second or two. And if it doesn't do that, because it's an asshole sometimes, it could still punch your opponent and to disorient them. The only downside is it has doubled cooldown, but considering how uncommon it would be for you to summon in 10 to 40 seconds anyways, definitely the best summoning. I would also like to talk about companions in this area as they technically fit the summon category. A companion is a character who actually exists in Shinastorm. They have the moveset that they use within that game mode, and they exist as a boss. Except they are now an NPC that can teleport around and use their abilities freely on an opponent. They are extremely frowned upon to use in actual combat, and people who use them is usually treated as a bunch of pussies. They can be leveled up, and they get stronger like you with leveling up. The most effective way to level them up is going scroll quests. Again, don't use them in combat or you're a fucking boy kisser. Illusionary techniques. These I find extremely interesting honestly, mostly because it's very easy to see that Rel has experimented with them a lot. But did it know how to make them not overpowered? The worst part is now that they are incredibly underpowered, because most of them are on Stun Global cooldown, and there are much better abilities that you could use for that explicit purpose. Sipping Technique 3 Illusion. Kryptonite because these two accomplish the same thing. Very close range moves, upon use it will burst out a bubble and anyone cutting it will be stunned for around a second. Could be good in combat if there wasn't better options. It is good to note that Sipping Technique is not a place lock stun. The 3 Illusion is a place lock stun. It will lock your opponent in that area. Real Attack, a completely meme jutsu. Upon users to do hand signs for the next minute and then deal 90 damage to your opponent, and then make them see you in a swing. Fun fact, this at some point used to be a good grinding tool, because for an April Fool's joke, Real made it so its damage is absurdly high. Peekaboo, Clown Trap, Halloween. Very similar to Sleeping Techniques, these come with a slightly better range and deal damage with longer stun time, if you can call it damage. Confusion Illusion. Arguably the best one out of them because it inverts player control and alters their vision. I think it also might be shuffling their moves, but I can't confirm it right now. Crow Salvation, the actual best one. Upon usage, gain a speed boost. And when you manage to ram in the speed boost, will get into a Genjutsu stun and be stunned for 2 seconds. You have to be very close to them for the Genjutsu, but you have all of your movement capabilities to cause a stun in a period of around 4 seconds. Illusion Style Transform allows you to take appearance of another player. Curious enough, this used to give you the appearance of NPCs too, but that function seems to have been broken. Also, you can copy the custom things such as hairs, decals, and etc. off of someone because the game technically can't interact with them. Healing Jutsus. Yeah, I wasn't planning on touching on these, but like, the video is already 40 minutes long, might as well touch on these as well. God damn. I would have loved to touch upon canards too if they were still a thing. I missed those because you could apply an effect to your weapon, like it would steal chi, stun, etc. Anyways, correct. Healing Jutsu, pretty self-explanatory. Self-healing Jutsu. Turn your easy to acquire resource, maybe not so much in combat, chi into health. Really useful actually, especially in ganks. Team Healing Jutsu. And we got into the busted shit. Yeah, this thing is used a lot in ganks. A lot. This thing can raise your fallen teammate from the ground by making time go faster. Heal realize incredibly fast, and it's just the best thing to use in a gank as a healer. Combine this with Snail Stage and your teammate dying in the foreseeable future. Medical Mode Transfer. The lesser useful brother of the Team Healing Jutsu. The reason for that is that mode regeneration is incredibly fast in this game, so the only real use this has is to be able to keep a certain player in their mode for far longer than intended without wasting their auto dodge or global cooldown. Used for very long ganks, but you'd be hard pressed to see this ever actually see use. Originally in this video I wanted to touch upon mode awakenings, but I feel like I wanted to make those in their own specific videos where I wanted some with even more information. Spirits, Cursed Marks, Fate Spirits. God Awakenings, and all the rest will eventually get their own videos. Same with Subjutsus and Taijutsus. Tai specifically will get his very own video very soon because I'm most excited about that one. Oh yeah, Bloodlines and Element reviews will also be appearing in the very near future, but now let's switch over games to see why I think this other Naruto RPG game is a failure in its concept and what they could and could have done to make it better. Credit is where credit is due. Fire being able to burn certain planks and grass, water being able to grow crops, air having traversal options, and lightning being incredibly fucking overpowered is pretty fun. And I love the utility this game affords, the waypoints, and how you have to give up on some in order to advance further, and skill tree system is genuinely unique, and if it wasn't for the stupid fucking clan system, I genuinely do think that some clans being able to access certain parts of a single big skill tree would be incredibly cool, but it's the way it is. There are generally some parts of this game that if Shuna had, I would be so happy. But it's practically nothing but a distant dream. However, I did say that Bloodlines was a failure in Shuno's wake, both in numbers and in gameplay. I would like to start off with the fact that this game could have genuinely been a better experience, and in the first context is actually real fun. It's only once you start peeling the layers that the game makes itself obvious as to how bad it is. See, Bloodlines is a perma-like game. There's nothing wrong with that, and as such, it takes inspiration from other games in its genre. Except instead of taking inspiration from the actual good game brother, Deepwoken, it has decided to take inspiration from the bad one, Rogue Lineage. I might tilt some people by saying this, but if you think that Rogue Lineage even slightly compares to Deepwoken, you're fucking delusional. And you're clinging on straws. What the fuck do you mean you can die only 3 times in a game where dying is the most likely outcome of any fucking encounter? Even when you aren't in a fucking encounter, you could die from fucking cold, and what the fuck this thing is, that's never explained to you. And then you have to find this relic that gives you 1 more life to be able to keep playing the game. Give me a fucking break. Anyways, Bloodlines, as bad of a decision as it is, was inspired by Rogue Lineage, and made it so that their perma-wide mechanics are near 1-to-1. You have a spear-shaped object in the middle of your screen that indicates your life force. When you're freshly, this part will only go down 10% at times you aren't saved by the most fucking band-aid ass NPC I've ever seen in my life. And after you get out of a fresh state that is indicated by a leaf in your head, that causes some people to target you because they want to be rogues and killing freshes give more sin, you start losing 20% of your life force per death, no chance of being able to be saved from that death. Also, even though Rogue Lineage has somewhat of a respectable combat system with actual good setup, parry timings and etc., most parries, blocks and etc. you'll get in this game will mostly be out of luck. I'm genuinely convinced that 99% of the community doesn't even know what moves are block break, what moves are parryable, and what moves are free blocks. I get that Shino doesn't make it so obvious as either, but if you think you can block rockets and still have your arms intact, at that point it's natural selection. How can you avoid wiping? Oh, that's easy, just play Girl Garden. Is it ironic that the only build that I have ever made that was successful enough that I could say, yeah, this is fine, was a fucking Fruit Ninja? Playing the Naruto equivalent of Grow a Garden, looking for life fruits that restore 25% of your life force, but has like a bee's dick chance of to actually appear. This is all on top of the fact that some clans are just encouraged to kill you. If you're in a Uchiha, you're encouraged to get 20 to 30 grips to fully awaken your Sharingan. And then do weird fucking shit with some other dude who has done the same for MS, and don't even get me started on EMS. Simply the fact that this requires interaction from another player is insane enough, but if you went a little to the left to Uchiha and looked at Uzumaki progression, you have to seal a fucking reanimated player, causing them to lose 30% of their life force. Mind you, reanimating costs Robux, and they can leave the game when they realize they're gonna lose the fight, with the explicit purpose of making it so you don't get the grip. Yeah, I remember the time Naruto or literally any other Uzumaki had to find someone who was brought back by this one snake-ass dude and then seal them just for the explicit purpose of awakening their chains. Good luck doing that without a team, or you're getting yanked. I'm sorry. I could go on and on about how this game costs money to play, you have to pay to reroll your clan rarities, how horribly tail beasts are implemented and orange around them, even though, again, this is a fucking perma-wipe game. This game has clear inspiration from Deep Vulcan. Why the fuck did you feel the need to practically lock people into a specific playstyle before they even start the fucking game? When you reroll for a race in Deep Vulcan, it's usually because you want to drip, or that you like a very specific ability they have. My friend literally had all Felinors with yellow hair, named them Alex or something, because he liked the aesthetics, and there's nothing stopping you from it. Yet in this game, you're relegated to play in a very specific way, just because your race told you so. And if you don't, and become a generalist, you're literally undermining yourself by not speccing into your specific class your race demands of you. Egypt, these are game races, they're not real, please don't ban me. In the end, as closing thoughts, Bloodlines is a failure of a game that doesn't need to be a perma-wipe, but added anyways even though it doesn't fit the game. It's just for that, oh, this game is hardcore title. Shinnok has some problems that definitely never going to get fixed, and these are all the things I want to talk about for today. Again, as promised, Mode Awakenings, Bloodline reviews, element reviews, and more in-depth dive into specific things and advanced combat material is coming in the very near future. I hope it won't take as long as this one did. And this is not in a script, but I want to do a little improv. I know I've been sick throughout the entire video. I apologize for that. I've been sick for like a very long time now, but I felt like I had to get this video out as soon as possible. And thank you for watching this video. This has taken so long. I've lost so many, and I don't usually do this, but at the start and the closing is supposed to reflect me as a person, and at the start how I felt depression for the start and throughout the entirety of 2025, and how this new year is treating me somewhat better and somewhat hopeful. I feel as if 2026 would be my year, and I hope it will be for you too as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing. And thank you for surviving another year. See you in the next one.